A single pair of crimson eyes glowed within the abyss, wild, feral, and utterly devoid of reason. In that instant, Han Li knew this was no longer a battle between cultivators, but a hunt between predator and prey. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Han Li's words left Mu Peiling and her two companions thoroughly perplexed. If he had never encountered that black-robed figure before, how could he so decisively identify the second nascent soul as the culprit? In the end, Liu Yu suppressed the confusion churning within her heart and answered, "The one who captured us was indeed your missing second nascent soul, master. It has already possessed a body, and its cultivation has reached the mid-nascent soul stage." As she spoke, a trace of lingering unease surfaced in her expression, as though the memory itself still cast a shadow over her mind. "It has possessed a body. Describe its appearance," Han Li asked, a flicker of interest igniting in his calm gaze. At that moment, the two golden lightning worms had already dispersed the surrounding black mist. With a flash of brilliance, they streaked through the air and vanished back into Han Li's body, as if returning home. The three women stared, stunned by the effortless elegance with which he wielded lightning. At the core formation stage, they too could manifest their techniques into tangible forms, but to command them with such natural ease, as though they were extensions of one's own limbs, that was a realm far beyond their reach. After steadying her breathing, Liu Yu began to describe the black-robed figure in detail. Han Li listened only briefly before arriving at his conclusion. The second nascent soul had indeed possessed the sovereign devil corpse. Though his expression remained composed, a heavy gravity settled deep within him. If not for the blood moon spirit-seeking technique he had mastered from the great development treasure scriptures, locating Mu Peiling's group would have been exceedingly difficult. This second nascent soul knew him all too well, far too well. He could not allow it to roam free. Otherwise, it would one day return as a blade aimed straight at his heart. With that thought, he spoke decisively. "The three of you leave this place at once and return to the sect. Since the second nascent soul has already returned to the heavenly south region, I must deal with it personally. I will search this inner valley carefully, alone. Marshal Uncle Han, its cultivation is no weaker than yours. You should gather reinforcements before attempting anything rash. Otherwise, Marshal Uncle Han, your cultivation." Song Yu's voice faltered as her spiritual sense brushed against Han Li. Her expression shifted, instantly shock flooding her features. Hearing her cry, Mu Peiling and Liu Yu hurriedly probed Han Li as well. What they discovered left them equally stunned. Only after a long silence did Mu Peiling manage to speak, her voice trembling with disbelief. "My lord, you've already become a great cultivator." Han Li smiled faintly. "It seems the three of you haven't heard yet. My grand ceremony was held half a year ago. I am now a grand elder of the sect. A mere mid to nascent soul opponent will not pose a problem." Joy blossomed across their faces at once, their earlier tension dissolving into excitement as they offered their heartfelt congratulations. Han Li accepted them with a gentle smile, then urged them once more to depart. This time none of them objected. After offering a final respectful curtsy, the three women transformed into streaks of light and shot out from the lava lake, vanishing into the distance beyond the inner valley. Silence returned. Han Li remained within the cave, choosing to wait. The place was obscure and hidden. If the second nascent soul had only left temporarily, it would surely return. Otherwise, it must either still be somewhere within the valley or had already departed entirely. 7 days passed. The wood spirit nascent soul never returned. At last Han Li rose. With a flick of his sleeve, tens of thousands of gold-devouring beetles surged forth from his spirit beast pouch like a golden tide, spreading outward to scour every inch of the inner valley. Though he failed to locate the second nascent soul, he uncovered numerous ancient treasures left behind by cultivators of ages long past. To him, they were of little value. None could compare to even a replica spirit treasure like his tri-flame fan. Yet within the heavenly south region, such items would be considered rare and precious. Still, he felt no satisfaction. Among the ruins, he found traces subtle, yet unmistakable of the second nascent soul's presence. Many ancient cave abodes had already been stripped bare, their contents looted not long ago. The truth became clear. The second nascent soul had already left the inner valley, taking those treasures with it. A troublesome development, yet after careful reflection, Han Li realized it was not beyond pursuit. The second nascent soul's ultimate goal was to devour his soul and seize his body. To achieve that, it would relentlessly seek greater power until it surpassed him. From the women's account, after possessing the sovereign devil corpse, it had begun cultivating the profound yin arts. If it wished to push its devilish qi to the utmost limit, there existed shortcuts such as blood sacrifices that could rapidly boost cultivation. But such methods came at a cost. Those who relied on them often found their progress stagnating afterward, or worse, halted entirely. Thus, the method of forcibly injecting devilish qi into one's body, recorded within the profound yin arts, was far more suitable. It allowed a devil cultivator to shatter bottlenecks in a short span of time. But the price? At best, the body would undergo devilification, its form and appearance altered. At worst, one would lose all sanity, devolving into a grotesque half-human, half-devil abomination. A path fraught with peril. Yet for the second nascent soul, the risk was minimal. With a devil corpse as its vessel and mastery of the great development technique, it could resist the erosion of its mind far more effectively than any ordinary cultivator. When it had parted from him, it was only at the early nascent soul stage. And now, it had already reached mid-stage. Such rapid advancement could only mean one thing. It had likely already begun this method. Devil Fall Valley, the birthplace of an ancient devil, was rich with lingering devilish qi. It was the perfect place for such cultivation. Han Li sat atop a mountain peak, meditating for an entire day and night, his thoughts weaving through countless possibilities, until at last, his eyes snapped open. The myriad depth, devilish abyss. His voice was cold certain. Azure light erupted from his body as he shot into the distance like a streak of lightning. 2 days later, he had already left Devilfall Valley, heading toward the Seven Spirit Islands at an astonishing speed. According to the profound yin arts, the initial stage of devilish qi infusion would take about a year. He could not afford to arrive too late. At nearly the same time, deep within the myriad-depth devilish abyss, the black-robed figure sensed something. A faint unease stirred within it. Had Han Li already deduced its location? But it stood at a critical juncture in its cultivation. It could not leave. Throughout its journey from Devilfall Valley, it had concealed itself, completely avoiding all contact. As a result, it remained ignorant of a crucial truth. Han Li had already advanced to the late nascent soul stage, an outcome it had never considered. Even Han Li himself had once believed such progress would take centuries. Thus, the second nascent soul still calculated based on his former strength. 2 months, that was how long it believed Han Li would need to arrive. By then, its own process would be complete. After some hesitation, it made its choice. It would remain 1.5 months, no more. Whether it succeeded or failed, it would leave immediately afterward, ensuring its escape. With that resolve, it steadied its mind and continued absorbing devilish qi. But what it did not know was that Han Li, now at the late nascent soul stage, traveled more than twice as fast as before, a journey that should have taken over 2 months. He completed in just 1. He had already arrived at the Seven Spirit Islands. The yellow-robed man's face drained of all color the instant Han Li called him out. His composure shattered, and he stammered nervously. I was unaware of your true identity during our previous encounter. If I showed any disrespect, I beg your forgiveness, Grand Elder Han. The core formation woman beside him was taken aback. This senior martial brother Kui of hers was usually eloquent and composed, yet now he seemed utterly flustered, reduced to a stuttering mess. From his words, it was clear he had known the Grand Elder for quite some time. Confusion stirred within her, but she did not dare voice it. A faint smile touched Han Li's lips. You did nothing wrong. I concealed my cultivation back then for my own reasons. Naturally, I would not hold you accountable for anything." His gaze lingered briefly on the man before continuing. "What surprises me, however, is that you've managed to advance to the core formation stage. Tell me, how are your fellow disciples faring?" The yellow-robed cultivator was none other than Kui Huan, the drifting cloud sect disciple who had once invited Han Li to hunt snow-cloud foxes many years ago. Back then, his spiritual roots had been utterly unremarkable, yet now he had risen from the chi condensation stage, all the way to core formation. Even Han Li could not help but feel a trace of astonishment. Kai Huan gave a bitter smile as memories of the past resurfaced. Senior Marshal Brother Wang and the others were not as fortunate as I was. They never made it past the foundation establishment stage. They passed away long ago. "I see." Han Li sighed softly. "With their aptitude, that outcome was only to be expected. It seems you've encountered quite the opportunity, Marshal Nephew Kui." Kui Huan scratched his head sheepishly. "Over 100 years ago, I accidentally consumed an unknown spirit herb. After that, my cultivation advanced at an astonishing pace." "Ha! Fortune truly favors you," Han Li remarked lightly. Then his expression sharpened, the warmth in his eyes fading into something far more serious. "But I did not come here to reminisce. I have questions for all of you. We will answer everything to the best of our knowledge." "Grand Elder Han," the woman replied immediately, her tone respectful. Even if Han Li were not the sect's Grand Elder, he was still the foremost cultivator in all of the Heavenly South region, someone none dared treat lightly. "I want to know," Han Li said, his voice steady but edged with cold intent, "whether any of you have noticed abnormalities in the seal over the Devilish abyss." The woman hesitated for a moment before answering the seal. "It appears intact. Patrol teams from the 7 islands guard it in rotation, and no irregularities have been reported. May I ask, what concerns you, Marshal Uncle Han?" Han Li's brows knitted slightly. "Guarded in rotation," he repeated, his tone darkening. "Then, when other islands are on duty, you would not know if something went wrong, would you?" The woman and Kui Huan exchanged uneasy glances. Summoning what courage he could, Kui Huan admitted, "Unless they report it to us." Then yes, that would be the case. To their surprise, Han Li did not grow angry. Instead, a glint of light flashed through his eyes. With a casual pat of his storage pouch, a set of formation plates and multicolored flags appeared in his hand. "Take 36 disciples with you and head to the abyss immediately. Set up this malevolent heavenly formation at the entrance," he instructed calmly. "I will be entering the abyss myself. If anything attempts to escape, trap it with the formation. You are not required to kill it, only ensure it cannot flee." Kui Huan and the woman were both startled, but neither dared question him. "Yes, Grand Elder." "There's no time to waste," Han Li continued. "Choose your people quickly and set up the formation without delay. I'll go ahead first. Hopefully this is nothing more than a false alarm." With that, he tossed the formation tools toward them and rose into the air. Before they could respond, azure light enveloped his body, and he shot into the distance like a streak of lightning, heading straight for the abyssal seal. The two hurriedly bowed after him, then immediately began issuing orders via voice transmission talismans. Moments later, 36 cultivators were assembled, and under the leadership of the 2 core formation cultivators, they rushed toward the abyss, carrying the formation tools. They dared not delay, not even for a heartbeat. By then, Han Li had already reached the abyss. The once massive vortex had shrunk to a diameter of merely 500 to 600 feet. Around it stood over a dozen colossal stone pillars, forged from an unknown material, neither metal nor wood, hovering motionlessly within the surrounding seawater. Beams of white spiritual light radiated from the pillars, forming a radiant barrier that sealed the vortex completely. Han Li hovered above it, his eyes narrowing slightly as he examined the formation. Behind him stood several cultivators, including a red-robed core formation expert who spoke cautiously. "Senior Han, as you can see, the seal remains intact. Could the information you received have been mistaken? Our 7 islands have maintained constant vigilance over this place. The Foundation establishment disciples behind him stood even farther back, scarcely daring to breathe. Humph. Hanley did not even turn. There are at least half a dozen methods I know of to bypass this seal without damaging it. To slip past your watch is hardly difficult. The red-robed cultivator could only offer a helpless smile. Disciples of my drifting cloud sect will arrive shortly to reinforce the entrance with a formation. You will cooperate with them. There will be no objections, correct? Hanley asked coldly. None at all. Senior, are you truly planning to enter the abyss? The man asked hesitantly. Hanley lifted his gaze to the sky. The sun stood high at its zenith, blazing with fierce brilliance. Of course, he replied without hesitation. Why else would I come in person? At this hour, the devilish chi is at its weakest. There is no better time. Understanding dawned on the red-robed cultivator's face as he followed Han Li's gaze. Enough. Return to your duties. I will enter now. Han Li wasted no further time. With a flick of his sleeve, a ball of tri-colored flame appeared in his hand, coalescing into the tri-flame fan. As he waved it, intricate runes ignited across its surface, flames dancing with vibrant intensity. In the next instant, he surged forward in a streak of azure light. With a thunderous roar, the fan transformed into a blade of blazing fire, cleaving a 10-foot rift into the light barrier with terrifying ease. From within, pitch-black devilish chi burst forth, surging outward like a living tide. Gasps erupted from the surrounding cultivators, but Han Li was already prepared. With a sharp, downward sweep of his sleeve, a surge of azure light descended, crushing the escaping devilish chi beneath the overwhelming force of his spiritual pressure. Before it could spread even an inch, he entered, a flash of azure, and he was gone. The barrier sealed shut instantly behind him, not even a wisp of devilish chi escaping. The red-robed cultivator let out a long breath, a wry smile tugging at his lips. With the greatest cultivator in the heavenly south region present, what was there to fear? At that very moment, Martial Uncle Look, one of the disciples, suddenly shouted. The red-robed cultivator turned. In the distance, dozens of streaks of light were racing toward them. Drifting cloud sect cultivators, he murmured, his expression turning complicated. It seems Senior Han is taking this very seriously. Could it be that something truly has slipped into the abyss? Deep within the abyss, enveloped by endless darkness, Han Li advanced. Golden lightning crackled around him. The divine Devilbane lightning, forming a radiant barrier that tore through the suffocating sea of devilish chi. Thunder echoed continuously as he descended deeper. 10,000 feet, 20,000. 30,000. His hands moved in precise seals, executing a secret art from the profound nascent formation arts without pause. Yet, nothing. No trace. As he descended further, his expression darkened. 70,000. 80,000 feet. Doubt began to creep into his mind. Had he been wrong? Had the second nascent soul never come here at all? Then, he stopped, abruptly. A grave expression overtook his face as his hand seals shifted. His lips moved in a low chant, eyes fixed unblinking ahead, blue light shimmering within them. A strange flicker of uncertainty crossed his features. Then he moved again, this time with absolute certainty. His descent became sharper, more deliberate. 3,000, 4,000 feet deeper. A low feral snarl echoed from below. Han Li's lips pressed into a thin line as he slowed, tightening his grip on the tri-flame fan. The blue light in his eyes intensified, piercing through the dense devilish chi. At his current level, his bright sight spirit eyes could see nearly 1,000 feet ahead. Though beyond 500 feet, all became hazy and indistinct. But now, about 1,000 feet below, a massive shadowy figure loomed. It roared a sound filled with savage fury. Han Li stared down through the darkness and met a pair of vicious crimson eyes. A chill crept down Han Li's spine. The crimson eyes below seethed with savage violence, utterly devoid of reason or restraint. They were not the eyes of a human, but those of a frenzied, bloodthirsty beast. He was still uncertain whether this deranged creature was truly his target when the thunderous roar abruptly ceased. The black figure swayed for a brief instant, then vanished into the surging, devilish chi like a shadow swallowed by darkness. Han Li's expression shifted slightly, yet he remained composed. With unhurried calm, he drew a silver shield from his sleeve. In the next moment, it blossomed into a radiant barrier of light, enveloping his entire body. No sooner had the barrier formed, the devilish chi behind him exploded into motion. A massive fur-covered arm shot forth like a bolt of black lightning, crashing violently into the silver light barrier. A deafening boom reverberated through the abyss. The claw sank half a foot into the barrier, sending violent tremors rippling through it as an overwhelming force surged toward Han Li. His expression darkened slightly. Only after taking 2 steady steps forward did he fully absorb the terrifying impact. At the same instant, his hand swept through the air. A golden sword several feet long materialized in his grasp. Without even turning his head, he slashed backward in one fluid motion. A flash of golden light, and the arm was severed cleanly. The black figure staggered back, letting out a furious roar. It retreated several steps before regaining its footing, its crimson eyes blazing with unhinged ferocity as it glared at Han Li. Han Li turned his gaze, settling upon the creature. After a brief moment, he let out a soft sigh. "So it is you. It seems your attempt to refine devilish chi into your body has failed, and devilification has claimed your mind." The creature stood no more than 100 feet away, its grotesque form now fully visible. It bore the unmistakable likeness of the sovereign devil corpse. Yet what stood before him was something far more monstrous. Most of its black robes had been shredded away, revealing patches of coarse corpse fur. In places, fist-sized black scales had grown across its body, glinting with a sinister sheen in the darkness. Its skull-like face was veiled beneath a thin layer of black chi, beneath which its features appeared twisted, distorted beyond recognition. From its severed arm, not a single drop of blood fell. It was as though no blood flowed within it at all. The creature let out a low, guttural snarl, its gaze flickering between Han Li and the golden sword in his hand. Yet it did not advance again. That single strike had planted fear within its instincts. Though it longed to tear Han Li apart with its bare hands, some primal sense of danger held it back. A storage pouch still hung at its waist, but whatever intellect once guided it was gone. It no longer even possessed the awareness to draw upon its own treasures. It was nothing more than a beast. Han Li studied it carefully. The truth became clear. The devil corpse had endured the process, but the nascent soul within had not. Driven by urgency, it had forced too much devilish chi into itself during the final stage of cultivation. Though it possessed the great development technique, it had not cultivated it deeply enough to withstand the corruption. In the end, its mind had shattered. What remained was a half-devil creature ruled solely by instinct and bloodlust. A shell. A failure. Han Li exhaled slowly. Relief flickered through him, followed by a trace of irony. He had treated this second nascent soul as a formidable adversary rushing here without rest for an entire month. And yet, this was the result. A hollow, mindless beast. It was almost laughable, but also convenient. Capturing it would now be effortless. Without hesitation, Han Li raised the tri-flame fan high into the air. There was no need to hold back. He would incinerate the body, forcing the nascent soul to reveal itself. 3 colored flames began to bloom across the fan. But at that very instant, the devil corpse let out a thunderous roar. A violent storm of devilish wind erupted around it as pure devilish chi surged toward its severed arm. And then, before Han Li's eyes, the arm regenerated, instantly, as if it had never been cut. Instantaneous regeneration. Han Li paused briefly, then a cold smile curved across his lips as he poured even more power into the tri-flame fan. Such abilities were rare, but not unprecedented. As long as the body was completely annihilated, there would be nothing left to regenerate. A sharp cry rang out. A three-colored fire raven burst forth from the fan, runes swirling around its blazing form as it shot toward the devil corpse. Wherever it passed, the surrounding devilish chi was obliterated instantly. The creature seemed to sense the danger, yet instead of retreating, its killing intent only intensified. With a feral roar, it drew in vast quantities of devilish chi, its body swelling as it grew several feet taller. It opened its mouth and unleashed a pillar of inky black light. The two forces collided. An earth-shattering explosion tore through the abyss. Three colored flames clashed against black light, neither side yielding, locked in a violent stalemate. Hanli's brows lifted slightly. Even a nascent soul cultivator would hesitate to face the tri-flame fan head-on. Yet this creature held its ground. His eyes narrowed. The runes within the flames flared violently, and slowly, inexorably, the black light was consumed. The flames surged forward, bearing down upon the devil corpse. A savage glint flashed through the creature's eyes. It inhaled sharply, gathering more devilish chi for another attack. But Hanli moved first. A thunderclap split the darkness. Azure and white wings unfurled behind him, his thunderstorm wings. With a single beat, he vanished. In the next instant, a streak of azure lightning flashed behind the devil corpse. Hanli emerged silently, his fist already driving forward. A massive azure fist materialized, crashing into the creature's back with devastating force. The devil corpse was sent hurtling forward, straight into the sea of three-colored flames. A roar of fury and terror erupted from its throat as black chi surged desperately to resist. But it was futile. The flames devoured it. Before Hanli's cold, unblinking gaze, the black chi was swept aside, and the body began to disintegrate, powerless to resist. The runes flared. The corpse was engulfed completely. Hanli prepared to extinguish the flames, to capture the nascent soul. But suddenly, the flames shuddered violently. A crimson explosion burst from within, tearing a hole through the inferno. A streak of black light shot upward. In an instant, it had risen over 300 feet. Hanli's heart jolted. Within that black light, a green nascent soul, holding a small black flag. His second nascent soul. Its eyes were clear, lucid. It had regained its intelligence. Hanli let out a cold snort, his wings beating as he vanished once more. The second nascent soul's expression changed drastically. Without hesitation, it hurled the black flag downward, forming a hand seal and pointing sharply at it. The ghost-sifting banner spun wildly, then exploded. Countless strands of black light spread outward, weaving into a vast net that covered the abyss below. The nascent soul let out a sharp cry and fled upward with all its strength. Below, an arc of azure lightning flickered into existence. Hanli reappeared. He glanced at the descending net, then at the fleeing nascent soul, now nearly out of sight. A cold light flashed in his eyes. With a flick of his sleeve, a streak of golden light slashed into the net. It trembled, but held. Hanli frowned slightly. With a pointed gesture, golden lightning erupted. This time, the net tore open. Without hesitation, Hanli surged through the gap, transforming into a streak of azure light as he gave chase. At the abyss's entrance, dozens of cultivators stood in formation, their flags and plates glowing with spiritual light. The formation was active. All was tense. Then, a deafening explosion erupted from within the seal. The barrier trembled violently, and suddenly, a massive black sword burst through it, tearing open a gash over 100 feet long. From within, a ball of black light shot out.